Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. Good morning, everybody. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Crypto Warehouse. My name is Mike. It is, I believe, the 15th of September, 2025. It's 11 a.m. Central European Time. We are, yet again, experiencing problems with one of the streams. And I'm going to go and have a look at what that problem is later on after this. So if you are watching on Binance Live or Binance Square, I believe we had a problem, or we have a problem. But we're going to go and have a look at that in a minute. I think the problem is they are transferring over from Binance Live to Binance Square, and I don't believe they are allowing Binance Live and Binance Square to stream simultaneously. I think that's the problem, but I have fixed a problem over the weekend, and that is to do with the video. Who is in chat on this fine Monday morning? And who is here ready to listen to what we have to offer today? We have Hidden Agendas, Manjeet, we have KB, and we have Bullish Bull. And probably more people that I can't see because I can't log into any of the other chats. So I hope you're all doing very well. What are we going to be talking about this week? We're going to be looking at the charts. Bitcoin dominance isn't recovering just yet. We're going to have a look at the DXY. We're going to have a look at total market cap for crypto. The Fed rate cut, we have to talk about that. We're going to talk about the total supply of Bitcoin being locked up. We're going to talk about $5,000 ETH this week. We're going to talk about ADA. Is it time for ADA? We're going to talk about Pump, the coin that I vilified. And we're going to talk about Gone Game. Not Gone Girl, Gone Game. Where else would you rather be? And good morning, protagonist, for your lovely set of coins to look at every morning. Yeah, we will have a look at some of those coins at some point. But first, I think what we need to do, I think we need to go and have a look. Let me just do a very quick refresh to see if this is working. I'm hoping it kicks in. I did get an error message just before we went live. And it's still not coming back up. So I'm going to have to go, and what I'll probably do after this stream is I will go and do a live stream just on Binance Square to test it out. I haven't been told what the reason is, but we shall see. Anyway, for those of you that are here, let us get on with the show. The title of the show this today is Volatile Week. That's what I'm expecting. If I was a gambling man, I would not be gambling this week. I would not be looking at longing and shorting the market. I do not know where we're going to be on Friday. If it's 0.25%, it's probably priced in. We're probably going to be at 116,000. If we get 0.5% rate cut, we might go to 118,000. I don't think we're getting a 0.5% rate cut, but we're going to go through that in a little bit. Good morning, Danny, and good morning, Alpha. I hope you're really well. Okay, where are we? Bitcoin is down a touch. Bitcoin is down as 115,000. Ethereum is still at $4,500. Not too bad. Look at the 7-day. Last week, we were talking about Bitcoin having a recovery. That's only up 3% over the week. Ethereum is up 5% over the week. XRP has lost its $3 level. BNB, after putting in, what, 928, was it, for all-time highs over the weekend? Still at 915. Solana went on a rip. Remember, we said that this would come back to 222. And there was somebody in blind panic that this was going to go to $500 or $400, whatever it was. And we said on Friday that this is more than likely going to get rejected and come back down to 220, 222, which I think gets them out of the S, which would be good. Others down here, Cardano, still at 86 cents. We're going to talk about that today. Hype is at $53. Now, again, you can look at the 24-hour and you can see red. Or you can look at the 7-day and you can see green. I know which one I would rather look at. And I think having a minor pullback this Monday, this Tuesday, before the rate cut announcement, perfectly natural. Perfectly natural. Let's not worry about going to $80,000 Bitcoin today, okay? Let's not worry about that. Now then, are there any gainers? Not many. Now, Monero, we're going to talk a little bit about Monero at the start of the show. Very briefly, I personally would not hold Monero, and I personally would sell Monero right now. And I don't normally give that kind of advice, but we have been, should I say, monitoring this rewriting of history on Monero now for a few weeks. It doesn't seem to have gone away. Why hold that token? That's just my advice. Flare is up, Story is up, Bitcoin Cash, and then we're down to gold and stablecoins, which means this is going to be pretty red. Indeed, we've got several 10x drops. World Liberty Financial, I think I told you last week, I've bought into this at 19.5 cents. We're still above that line at 21 cents. The coin that I don't talk about is down. Doge is down. Bonk, Sky, Dog with Hat. Meme coins are taking a bit of a kicking this morning. I'm not too bothered about these things. Jupiter is down at 50 cents. That's dropped 7% in the last 24 hours. I was looking at this on Saturday. I think it was 55, 56 cents. Pudgy is down. There's a lot of losers today. I don't care. It's going to be a volatile week. Let's not worry. And for those of you in chat over on YouTube, there is a poll question. And the poll question is, are we going to get a 0.25% or 0.5% rate cut this week? And so far, 100% have said 0.25%. I absolutely agree. Villain Bear is in chat. Why did I buy at 19.5 cents? Because there comes a point when you have to realise that the market doesn't do what you want. And I wanted 10 and 11 cents to buy World Liberty Financial, but we are getting awfully close to the end of September, and I am starting to dollar cost average in to World Liberty Finance. So when you hear me say that I have bought a coin, it doesn't mean I've taken my entire bag and spent it all on World Liberty Financial or on Pump. No, it means I have bought some, and I am likely to buy some more after the rate cut if we have a drop-off. A lot of people are thinking that Bitcoin and the markets are going to drop after Wednesday. Maybe it does, but I'm getting in last week, I'm going to get in this week, I'm going to get in the week after, and I'm going to build my position. If I look at what I did with Dupe, I bought Dupe at 60, 55, 46, 43, 44 cents. I think my average buy-in for Dupe is now about 48 cents on top of what I got in the airdrop. 48 cents. We haven't fallen too far below that in the entirety of this market. So just dollar cost average in. And I'm not doing it on to a grand scale. I'm buying, I don't know, maybe $1,000, maybe a few $100. I don't know. Whatever I can get my hands on. But if we go to 40, 50, 60 cents, I'm not buying any more. Right then, London Stock Exchange Group launches its blockchain platform digital markets infrastructure starting with private funds, says Bloomberg. Again, it's not a matter of if but when with lots of these things, and as you would expect every stock exchange worth its salt to be 24/7 365 within the next year or two. Why do we have to trade the London Stock Exchange between 8:30 and 4:30 Monday to Friday? Why can't you go and buy stocks on a Sunday? What reason is there you cannot buy stocks? We've had online banking for what, 20 years? Why haven't we got online stock trading? Is it because the men in suits don't want to work 24/7? Is it because the men in suits don't want to lose their jobs? I mean, come on, guys. I know we don't want to get to the point where something disastrous happens and all of a sudden on a Sunday night the entire market crashes. I get all of that. But I think there comes a point where we need to look at 24/7 trading to some degree. And that's, I think, the direction we're going to head in. Moving on very quickly, we have a lot to get through. Remember, it's a busy Monday. I don't know why we do this to ourselves. I don't know why I do this to you on a Monday, but we do. The migration to mainnet continues to pick up steam thanks to our friends at Binance. Mantra has its own chain, and it is migrating the OM token to its own chain. And when you have your own chain, you can configure that chain to do your bidding, unlike sitting on, for example, Arbitrum or sitting on directly on Ethereum. I think this is the way, this is the future of a lot of different types of projects that will allow for this kind of thing. So, for example, when BlackRock have their own stock exchange online on a blockchain, it will be probably built on the OP stack, and it will be built on Ethereum, and they will be able to have their own blockchain that they're in control of. What Mantra are trying to do and aiming for is to have their own blockchain with tens and hundreds of different projects running on it. And you need this kind of stuff for KYC and AML, specific contracts. And I'm all for it. And it's the future. There's no point in me sitting here saying it's not going to happen. Of course it's going to happen. We're already talking about stable coins creating their own layer 2s on Ethereum. It's going to happen. And this is just the start of it. We are going to see multiple layer 2s. But at the end of the day, does it really matter when they're all connected and there's interoperability, chain links involved? No, it doesn't matter. If they have to build a specific layer 2 to be able to do what they want to do, who cares? It's none of our business. Yeah, you probably did. Good morning, May. I hope you are well. A quarter of a rate cut this week. I think so, yes. Now then, Monero's blockchain hits reverse as it experienced its deepest ever reorg today. The chain experienced 18 block rollback that rewrote 36 minutes of history and invalidated 118 confirmed transactions. Now, I have been saying for a very long time that the future of Monero is not great. It's a privacy coin, and one thing that we're seeing in humanity, I suppose, in society, is that privacy is going out the window. Monero will then follow it out of the window. It will be banned. It's already banned in several countries. I would not hold this token. There is a thing called guilty by association, and I've said this before about if you use different browsers to access the internet, which provide anonymity, you will be guilty by association of using that private browser. If you hold Monero in your wallet is likely to be flagged. What does that mean? It means, for example, at some point, some undetermined point in the future, exchanges might be blacklisting your wallets, so you won't be able to send funds to an exchange. All of that is in a dark future. And we might not get that far. But just look at Justin Sun last week. He got blacklisted. It's possible. You can have your funds frozen. It doesn't require a lot. And I've got past the point of saying it can never happen, because we just have to look back at COVID and see what happened there. Who would have thought you'd be locked up in your house for 6 or 12 months? Now then, I do not know a lot about this. So, I'm going to be very clear. Without any knowledge of this token, I'm going to be very clear. Don't go near it. Wait for the dust to settle. I have done a quick search on CR7, and this is what comes up. Just in, the pre-sale. Breaking, pre-sale. Just in, the pre-sale. Do you notice a pattern here? CRL playbook. Just in, the pre-sale. Just in, the pre-sale. Okay, now, I am not saying that this isn't a valid token. What I am saying is, if this came up with any other token name, I would be warning you. I'd be lighting the fires, okay, on top of the mountains to let you know that there is trouble ahead. Personally, I would not touch this token. I don't care what happens with this token, but this all the signs of a pump and dump. I don't know if it's official, just because it's called CR7 official. I don't know. But when you see the same tweet being issued by so many different people, for me, that's a red flag. So I would stay well clear of anything to do with Ronaldo for now. I know he's got an NFT project on Binance. I know you can go and meet him. Fine. But when I see stuff like that, I run for the hills. And how many celebrity tokens can you name that have been a success? Iggy Azalea, Hulk Hogan, God rest his soul, Andrew Tate, Snoop Dogg. What about Yeezy's token? No, that didn't do well either. Donald Trump? Nope. Melania? Nope. What about country tokens like Argentina? Nope. Central African Republic? Nope. So why are you going to go and buy Cristiano Ronaldo's token? Don't do it. Don't do it. Not financial advice. Now then, the economic calendar, talking about sensible things. Now, Monday, nothing. Tuesday, Wednesday, FOMC interest rate decision, Chairman Powell press conference, the most important date in the history of crypto until October. We know there's going to be a rate cut, and we know it's 0.25%, and then we know that Donald Trump is going to try and get him fired because Trump wants 5% rate cuts, and Trump wants him to basically throw himself off the podium and beg for forgiveness. We know what Trump wants. Trump ain't going to get what he wants. We're going to see 0.25%. And maybe it's too late for this bull run. We were calling for this in June. We follow Truflation. That Truflation is at least a month ahead of the real inflation figures in America. Everything coming out of America as far as data is concerned is absolutely wrong at the minute. Look at what they did with employment last week. They were 910 or 911,000 out. So far as I can see, you just need to keep an eye on this stuff. Now then, just keeping an eye on chat. So Wednesday is the day. And again, please don't trade on Wednesday. I think that's, I mean, okay, you've got a chance. You've got a chance that you long at the right moment or you short at the right moment and you 50x it and you make $10,000. Congratulations. But don't open a long position on Bitcoin today or a short position on Bitcoin today and then think you're going to hold it till Friday. It isn't. It's just not gonna. It's not gonna be good. Not gonna be good for you. Not gonna be good for your bags either. In my opinion, we could wick up to 118. We could wick down to 104, and everybody gets trashed. And that's why the title of the show today is Volatile Week. Now then, for all of those people telling you that the DXY has broken down, we have found some level of support here at 97.5, and again my little red arrow is pointing to the upside. The DXY has come down, but I think we are starting to see this, and I think we are going to see an American recovery next year. I think the economy, which was said was going to be going into a recession next year, I don't think that's going to happen. I know America and China are meeting in Madrid as we speak to negotiate trade terms. That's the big one. That's what the market is holding on for. And they've agreed 60-70% of the trade already. So this is just about trying to probably get over the line with the harder things. But the DXY will break back up. We are bouncing off that level of support. We're going to go up. Be happy. We're almost at the end of our journey. We're almost there. Now, I don't think Bitcoin dominance is at the end of its journey. Good morning, Tariq. I hope you're well. Man City are in bad form and still whooped United 3-0. Well, they did. Absolutely. I wasn't expecting that to happen to that extent. Right, this is the Bitcoin dominance. I have said this last week, and I am not going to change my opinion. I think Bitcoin dominance is going to move back up. Maybe Wednesday is the start of this. I don't think Bitcoin dominance is done, but we're running out of time. By the middle of October, we're going to do a bit of a run. Now, I've got a video that I'm going to make about Bitcoin and why I keep saying pack your bags. And I think the last time I did this, I made it last September, especially for the OGs. And I'm going to basically go through why October is such a pivotal month, especially for Bitcoin. And that's why I think Bitcoin dominance is going to pick up. Now, maybe it doesn't go all the way up to 65%. But as I have said, I think 61%, 61.5%, maybe, just maybe, we do this and then break down. Maybe. But the other argument to make is Bitcoin dominance going to break down when there's so much money flowing into the ETFs? Maybe the Ethereum price absolutely rips to the upside. That helps Bitcoin dominance break down. Maybe the entire market rips and Bitcoin stays at 115, 120,000. Maybe. But I don't think Bitcoin dominance is done just yet. I think we're going to have another leg up on that. And if we don't, it's great for your alts. That's the way to look at it. If I am wrong, you will be happy. If you are alt bag heavy, you will be happy. And if you're Bitcoin heavy, you're going to be happy anyway. And maybe I'm wrong. And maybe we go to $11 trillion in this bull run. And my $160,000 Bitcoin price is wrong. I don't care. It's my target. Okay? And at the end of the day, don't believe a man on the internet telling you what's going to happen. Take on board what I say and use that how you will. The same way if you listen to George, or if you listen to, I don't know, I don't really watch many people anymore, Crypto Lifer, who's got, I don't know what's wrong with him. But anyway, if you listen to any of them, great. Then that's what you should be. Now, this is the daily. So we are quite nicely in this little range here. I don't know why I've prophetically drawn these two lines, but we are just below. Is this all-time high at 4.17? I still think we're going above 4 trillion. I think we're going to do that. Again, haven't changed my opinion since last week. Just a bit of a refresh. We're still sitting under 4 trillion. We could go between 3.8 and 4.1 this week. Again, it's a volatile week. But again, we're still sitting here. We're primed. Okay? It's time. Okay? It's time for Bitcoin. Okay? Now, we have got the Bitcoin chart, which I'm going to look at, although you are going to probably see a sneak preview of my video by me doing this. But we're going to look at the Bitcoin chart for a second, because I did a live stream last week on Binance Square. I didn't do it on YouTube. And I talked about what was going to happen last week with all of the inflation data. And one of the things that I said last week was that whatever happens, we've still got these ranges. Okay, we're still there. And the bottom of that range is 110. And the top of that range is about 118.5. And that's the range we're in. And I've removed all the lines because I've got my other video. In fact, just to show you what I'm talking about there. Okay, so basically this is showing the cyclical nature of October. And we are getting there. We are getting there. This line is the 14th of October. And this is when we're going to take off, roughly. Okay, now, whether we do this or whether we do this is completely irrelevant, because once we get over here, we will have happy faces. And right now, I know a lot of you out there have got sad faces. And that line in the sand takes you from a sad face to a happy face. And even the bear who's in chat will appreciate that he will have to put a happy face on. And what you expect from a bear is that when Bitcoin is up here, okay, and gets to 150,000, say, when we do this, okay, and we get down to, let's say, 140,000, the bears will say, see, I told you we were going to come down. And then what a bear will do is a bear will tell you when we bounce off 175,000 and come down to 163,000, see, I told you we were coming down. I told you we were coming down, because all a bear does is tell you we're going down. And all a bull does is tell you we're going up. And every time we do this, the bull is right. But then what happens is the bears get 3 times as long to tell you that they were right. Okay? So there's the bull, they're right. There's the bear, they're right. So whichever one you listen to will determine how positive or negative you are. But whether we go up to 150 and then sneak back down to 140,000, I don't care. We're still at 140 to 150,000. That's the most important thing. Forgetting that a bear is going to sit there and tell you we're going to zero. Okay? And I think bears are just very insecure bulls. That's what I think. But there we go. Right, let's move on to the Fed cut news. Again, this is where you're going to see so many people in X, in Binance Square, in everywhere, telling you, oh, you know, we're going to see a 0.5%. JP Morgan met a guy in a cafe and he told this guy that this was going to happen. And no, we are not going to get more than a 0.25% rate cut. And that's what the markets have priced in my opinion. So why are we going to go any higher than a 0.25%? We're not. And what Powell is going to do is he's going to do probably 3 rate cuts. So what we need to listen for is, are we going to see September, October and November rate cuts? Or, and that's 3 rate cuts, or is Powell going to really bottle it and come out on Wednesday and say there's 2 rate cuts? Because if he comes out and says there's 2 rate cuts, then the markets are going to tank. The markets expect 0.75% rate cuts. That is what is important. And then, you know, you can look at these target possibilities. This is just other people's opinions. And, you know, it's nice to get a barometer, but this isn't a fact. I see people on X saying, the Fed are going to cut. There's a 100% chance of a Fed cut. According to who? According to the experts. Have the experts always been right? If the experts were right, we'd be 20 foot underwater by now. We're not 20 foot underwater because what they said 30 years ago never came to pass. Rate cuts, this is an educated guess. The people who know there's going to be a rate cut are Powell and is there 6 of them, 7 of them? They then decide whether there's going to be a rate cut. And we know there's going to be a rate cut. It's whether there's going to be 2 or 3. That's what I think is going to swing the market. So we don't really need to know too much about this, but there are mixed issues with the economy. Jobless claims are at their highest in 4 years. Payrolls grew by just 22,000 in August. Revisions also showed nearly 1 million fewer jobs created over the past year. That's a positive because that reduces wage inflation. The demand on wages drops because people will accept a lower wage to get work. That's important. Inflation, however, is a bit higher than people like, especially if you go off the government data. Tariffs. Everybody's panicked about tariffs. If you'd listened to us, we weren't panicked about tariffs. It was a short-term thing. Don't worry about tariffs. Don't worry too much about inflation. The job data is the one for me. Coming in high is a positive for me because if he leaves it too long, he's going to stall the economy. And that is what Trump doesn't want. You think about this. Trump's won the election. He's come in. He's all bullish. He's creating jobs. He's getting investment flowing into America. And Powell isn't cutting rates. So as Trump is trying to force economic growth, the rate cuts aren't happening. And that is where Trump is getting frustrated. Whereas Powell is sitting in there saying, oh, well, you've created all these tariffs. So I've got to basically not cut rates. And it's like, well, The tariffs didn't do what you thought they were going to do, did they, Sunshine? So if the tariffs haven't forced 5%, 4% inflation, why are you still hanging on tariffs? I think it's a mute argument, and I think he's left it too late, but who am I? Institutions like Strategy and Metaplanet now hold 12.3% of the total supply of Bitcoin, and that number is higher. We'll get to that in a second. Institutional money, funds, and public companies continue to increase their Bitcoin holdings and hold 12.3%. Now, for example, I'll just give you that as an idea. That's 1 in 8 Bitcoin held by institutions. A little bit more than that, but 1 in 8. That's going to become 1 in 6, 1 in 5. Probably then half of Bitcoin is going to be owned by institutions in the next 4 or 5 years. And then you're going to get the likes of Gary Stevenson, you know, tax wealth, not work. You're going to get him coming out saying that Bitcoin is just an opportunity for institutions to make even more money out of you because they print your wage into the ground, and that just pumps the price of Bitcoin, so they stay rich and you stay poor. Well, guess what? You've had 14 years to buy Bitcoin. There is nobody left to blame for this generation for not holding Bitcoin. We've been telling you to buy Bitcoin for 3 years. If you don't buy it now, when are you going to buy it? According to Bitcoin analytics platform Ecoinometrics, figure has dramatically increased over the past 12 months. Institutional money adding 5% to their combined holdings in the past year alone. Look at that. That is pretty dramatic. So it is. And that is the growth. Now, what's interesting here is everybody uses 21 million as the benchmark for Bitcoin. But there isn't 21 million Bitcoin. There never will be 21 million Bitcoin because, number one, Satoshi's got 1 million. That's in the bin. So there's 20 million Bitcoin. Estimates at lost Bitcoin is anywhere between 1 and 3. Let's call it 2. So that's 18 million. We're never going to mine all the way to the 21 millionth Bitcoin because it's just going to get exceedingly hard. So let's say 17 million Bitcoin left. That's the number you need to look at. And Bitcoin is being lost every single day. People send it to the wrong address and it just gets lost. People lose their seed phrase, it's lost. So when you look at the amount of Bitcoin that they hold, it is not 12%. It's more likely 15, 16, 18%. And that's within a very short space of time. ETFs have only been around for 1.5 years as far as Bitcoin is concerned. So you should look at this chart and say to yourself, do I hold enough Bitcoin? Did I buy enough Bitcoin along the way? And if the answer is no, you need to go and buy more Bitcoin. And you don't have to aim for 1. Aim for 100th of a Bitcoin, which is still coming in at what? Probably today, $1,100, something like that. Aim to hold 100th of a Bitcoin. That's the $1 million question. Will there be a big green or a big red candle after the 17th or the 18th? I expect nothing. I don't think anything's going to happen because we're going to get a 0.25% rate cut. I don't think Powell is going to come out and say 2 or 3 rate cuts. I'm only going off the extremities. He's going to come out and he's going to say, we've got to keep an eye on the economy. We've got to keep an eye on key metrics like housing and unemployment and inflation. We've got to see where we've got to see where Trump's tariffs take us. We're going to cut by 0.25% because we feel the economy can cope. And he's going to say something like that. And the markets are going to wick around a little bit. And as I said, on Friday, we're probably going to be at 116, 117,000. So the issue I have is what happens between then and Friday. And the issue is this. If you long Bitcoin today, it is likely to go in both directions within a few hours. So it will take out the longs and take out the shorts. And that's what happens. You see these huge spikes. And if you time it wrong, you've lost. So why take the risk? We know it's 0.25%. We know what he's going to say. We know he's backed himself into a corner. We know all of that, but I think the market has priced it in. So there's nothing's going to happen. I got myself more than one Bitcoin about 7 years ago. So I have my Bitcoin, and I've had my Bitcoin all this time, and I've never sold it. And I'm not likely to sell my Bitcoin unless something dramatic happens. Listen, if Bitcoin over the next 4 or 5 years goes to $1 million, for argument's sake, $800,000, I've got to look at how long I've got left and say, is that enough money to cash in? Is that enough money to stake and earn a reward on for me to live out the rest of my life? I am not 20 years of age. If I was 20 years of age, I'd be buying Bitcoin every week and completely forgetting about cycles, completely forgetting about markets and the Fed. I would just be buying whatever I can afford to buy of Bitcoin every single week. And that would be it. And I'd have a 20-year target. I made an OG video about this a year ago. I've made an OG video about what you should do if you are young. And I made that video. If you're not on OG, you can't see it because we have a subscription on YouTube. But we have an OG video out there. And I tell you exactly what you need to do, including looking back into the past to see what it's worth today. And that's what you need to do. If you're young, you buy Bitcoin and you shut up. Okay? That's it. Buy Bitcoin and shut up. And the other thing you need to do, and be very careful about, is you don't tell anybody you hold Bitcoin. Don't tell a soul. Don't tell your family, extended family. You tell your wife, okay, or your husband. You don't tell anybody else. And when you tell them not to tell anybody else, okay? That's important because, trust me, if I know that Danny has 1 Bitcoin, and I know where Danny lives, and Bitcoin hits $500,000, I'm going to put Danny in the back of a van, and Danny's going to disappear until I get that Bitcoin. And if you think that's dramatic, you should see what they're doing in France, in Paris. You should see what they're doing in New York, and it will happen in London, and it will happen everywhere. You do not tell anybody how much Bitcoin you have. You keep that private. And if anybody says to you, how are you doing in crypto? You come out with the line, I lost it all on meme coins. And you don't tell a soul. There is no point in bragging on the internet about how much money you've got in Bitcoin because you will get people knocking on your door. And I am not joking. Now, Ethereum nears $5,000 as ETFs and staking reshape market demand. Now, there's an awful lot to dig into with Ethereum, which we don't have time for. But there's a lot of moving parts with this, whether it be with Vitalik and the Ethereum Foundation, whether it be to the ETFs and the proposed staking rewards, whether it be with the validators themselves and them having their increase in staking. There's a lot to go through. We're not going to go through all of that here, but this is just touching the tip of the iceberg. Ethereum's rally towards $5,000 is being fueled by momentum from institutional inflows into ETFs and the rising on-chain activity. Large investors have accumulated millions of ETH, while staking actively has locked up nearly 30% of the supply. At the same time, record daily transactions and smart contract usage highlights ETH's shift to an infrastructure layer for digital commerce, which is what we have said all along. Bitcoin for store of wealth, ETH for digital, for TradFi, should I say, and then Solana is for retail. That's it. That's it. You've got smaller chains off to the side that do various different bits. We have lots of projects that we love, of course we do. But the long and hard of it is there are 3 tokens: Bitcoin, ETH, and Solana. You then have the next level down with the XRPs and the ETF, the BNBs and stuff like that, and Hype. But there's 3 big runners in this market, and they're almost at the top. So we don't need to read too much about this. What I'm going to talk about, though, because I don't want to run out of time. I always run out of time. And that is, I think we're going to hit $5,000 on Ethereum, and then we're going to have a correction. Now, that can happen as soon as they announce ETH staking. We go to $5,000. I don't know if you remember. It wasn't that long ago, maybe in July, we spoke about or I spoke about, should I say. I said as soon as we get ETH staking, we're going to go north of $4,000 and never look back. And we didn't get ETH staking, but we went north of $4,000 and have never looked back. And at the time, I don't think we were anywhere near $4,000. We're at, what, 2006, 2008, whatever it might have been. $4,000 has always been a key problem and support, but not so much support for Ethereum. It's just been one of those numbers, and we're way above it now. I think if you look at what we did, we ran at $5,000. We didn't get there. We came down to $4,200, and now we went back to 4,006, 4,007, and now we're at 4.5. I think we're going to have another run at 5, and I think we're going to get rejected again. And I think when we get rejected this time, depending on the macro, I think we come back down to 4.2, 4.3. But I think we're going to have a run at $5,000 because I think this ETH staking it's here. Whether it's here today or tomorrow or next week or the week after, I think we're going to break $5,000. I just don't know I don't know when, but it's going to happen. That's what I think we're going to do. And I'm trying very difficult because there's about 5 or 6 different ways we can get to $5,000. The treasuries, the ETFs, the staking, the Fed meeting, it can all get us there. And I think a combination of them will get us there. But I don't see us breaking $5,000 and shooting up to 5,500. I think we're going to hit it and wick to it, and then we're going to come back down because $5,000 is the new $4,000 for Ethereum. Villain Bear will put Mike in a van when it hits. You won't fit me in a van. I'm all legs and arms. I'm like a great big spider. ETH staking, proof of stake came about, what was it, about 3 or 4 Christmases ago? I remember on Christmas Day locking up my ETH for ETH2 or whatever it was called, and it stayed there for an eternity. It felt like an eternity. My ETH was just locked, and I was getting my ETH rewards, and it started off at about 6 or 7%, and you were getting, 0.1 ETH here, 0.1 ETH there, and then obviously it dropped back down towards 2 or 3%, and we weren't getting a lot. But my ETH was locked up for about 2 years. It was for a very, very long time, and the rewards were great. But I think ETH is going to go to $5,000 and get rejected and come straight back down, in my opinion. I don't think it's time. I think when we break and touch when we touch $5,000 and come back down, after that we will then run up. And where we go, 7, 8, I think I've got $6,000 to $8,000 for my ETH target, something like that. I think. Now ADA, we haven't talked about ADA in a while. XRP's been taking all the headlines. Solana's been taking all the headlines. But Cardano, is Cardano primed? Well, if you look at everything else that's been running, BNB, ETH, XRP, Solana, they've all had a run. Go further down, AVAX has had a run, Hype has had a run. Where is ADA's run? Where is ADA's pump to $1? That's a question I would be asking, because we should be seeing ADA heading towards $1. And what are we at now? 90 cents? We're almost there. It doesn't take a massive wick to get us above $1 and then hold it. Now, I've got higher targets for ADA, and I'm sure you all have higher targets for all of your coins. And the one thing I want to highlight now is that, let's say you've got a token that's currently at $20 and you want it to hit $100. The thing to bear in mind is it could very well hit $100, but it won't be there forever. It will go there and then it will come back down and then it's all over. And if you look at the length of the blow off top of a bull run, I think it's only from start at the bottom to finish about 10 to 12 weeks. And the problem you've got is you don't know that you're in the final end game of a bull run until you're almost at the top. So that means what? That means that 5 or 6 weeks of it have gone. And then you're trading your tokens on the way down. And that's something important to realize, is you don't know the tsunami is coming until the wind stops and the sea disappears. And by that point, you haven't got long left to get out of the way. And with this, at what point do we think we're in the bull run? When Bitcoin goes to 140,000, when ADA's at $2.50, when XRP's at $3.50? You don't know. And nobody knows. We might not have the November blow off top. It might go into next year. I might be completely wrong. And there's so much going on, the chances of me being wrong are a lot higher than the chances of me being right. But I was right about us not having the all-time high back in April and May. So if we go off the 4-year cycle, November is the top. Maybe we have the blow off top in November and then we have the cool down in January and February. Or maybe we don't. Maybe we just run into next year. All of the experts that I like to listen to are now starting to think that we might have a slightly elongated bull run. But irrespective of that, ADA is a good example. If we think ADA is going to go to $3, for argument's sake, and we're sitting at $1 now, it's not beyond the realms of possibility to go from $1 to $3. It's not beyond the realm of possibility for a coin to go from $20 to $100 if it's got a similar size market cap. What is outside of the realm of possibility is when you look up to likes of Bitcoin and Ethereum. For Bitcoin to go from 110,000 to 350,000 in a week, or not a week, sorry, in a month, that's beyond the realm of possibility. Ethereum going from 5,000 to 15,000 is now beyond the realm of possibility. But they are hundreds of billions of dollars and trillions of dollars of market cap. Cardano isn't. Hype isn't. AVAX isn't. Chainlink isn't. So if you saw a flow of hundreds of millions of dollars into some of these coins, they can wick that high. And that's what you've got to bear in mind. And I made a tweet on Sunday and I said, you know, people are still telling you there's going to be 100x. I said the time to get 100x was June 2023. That was when to get 100x. Had you bought, for example, had you bought XRP 2.5 years ago, you'd be sitting on a 10x. Almost. Let's say a 10x. If XRP goes to $6, you're sitting on a 20x. Cardano has gone, and currently we're at what? We're probably on a 5x from where we were. So if Cardano goes to $3, you're sitting on a 13x. And these are top 10 coins. So where are these 100x's coming from? Because are they still trying to get you to buy into these micro cap coins, these $10 million coins? Because that's not the right thing to be doing right now. Good morning, Solo Sky. Simon, welcome. I'll give you that at the end. I'll give you the plays at the end. Will ADA hold 80 cents? I absolutely think so. ADA's got two prices in its head. It's got 60 cents and 80 cents. And I think we're holding 80 cents. I think XRP will hold 275. I think if we have a lot of volatility, the volatility on something like ADA will be between 75 and 95. That's the price it seems to be sitting at about now. And again, the question is, if and this is what I'm going to answer Simon in a minute. If we've got 4 weeks left to pack our bags before the blow off top, you need to be picking the coins to buy. And I'm probably going to do that at the end of this. And I'm going to tell you my plays. And then going to go through what I think is going to happen. So ADA. This is bollocks, okay? I don't think there's a swear word in 95% of the universe, so I'm going to use it. This is bollocks, okay? We're not going to $25 for ADA. $3 to $5 is a really good price for ADA, okay? We're at 80 cents now. So if we go to $4, you 5x your money in maybe 6 months. Show me another industry where you can buy a top 10 coin where you can 5x in 6 months, and you won't be able to. You might be able to show me a microcap that's competing in AI or electric vehicles or fusion reactors. Yes, of course you can. We're talking about ADA. It's, if you take out stable coins, it's the 6th or 7th biggest crypto asset in the world. It's likely to do a 4 to 5x from here by the end of the bull run, which could be November, it could be February. I don't know. Just be careful with people that give you unrealistic targets. And I haven't forgotten what I was saying before about the blow off top. I'm going to get to that when we're talking about this. So we're looking at breaking this line. Okay, now that $3, that is previous all-time high. That's why I think we're going to go there. Many coins are not going to go back to all-time highs. Crow, for example, is not going to go to its all-time high in this cycle. We're at 24 cents. With all the bullish news in the world, we got to 38 cents. So why are we going to go above 97 cents? I don't think we can. And if we do, I'll be mightily relieved because I have hundreds of thousands of Crow. But I don't think we're going to get there. So ADA has been 20 cents. It's now at 85 cents. It's been over $1. It's going to have a run. But this is crap. This is absolute crap. And this is the point I'm going to go back to. I'm like one of those comedians that tells a joke in 3 parts. When you know we're in the end game of the bull run and we're 5 weeks in and you've got 5 weeks left, the only thing you can do is have price targets for your coins which are realistic. And that's why I'm so against this kind of crap, because it's unrealistic. We're not going to $25 in this bull run. We're not going to $40, $50 in XRP in this bull run. We're not going to $500,000 in Bitcoin. We're not going to $20,000 in ETH. And if you've got those price targets in a spreadsheet, you're going to be left with all of your bags by the bear market. You won't have sold and taken profits out of anything. And that's why you've got a dollar cost average out. Now, I might be wrong. Maybe we go to $7 on Cardano. But sell 10% at $3. Sell 10% at $3.50. $4, $4.50. $5, $5.50. $6.50. $7. You will have sold 90% of your original bag by the time it hits that price. And if it doesn't hit that price and it's coming down again, you'll sell an average of maybe $6. That's a lot better than holding it from 40 cents to $5 to $1. Because guess what? When you sell at $1, you could have sold by dollar cost averaging out at $6. That's the problem with these price targets. If you overshoot and miss, you have missed. Okay? If there's a zombie walking towards you, you don't take a headshot. You take out its legs, you take out its knees. Okay? So it crawls and it slows it down, right? Body shots to Cardano will give you more money than one single headshot, because nobody in the world is going to predict the top of these bull runs. Nobody in the world is going to give you the day that Bitcoin hits its top, or Ethereum, or Cardano, or XRP. Nobody, right? And the people that will are the people that record a video every day saying this is the top, this is the top, this is the top. And then what they'll do is they'll delete every video that wasn't the top and then tell you, look at the video I made on the top. I called it. Richard Hart did exactly the same thing 4 years ago. He's lived off that for 4 years. I predicted the day that Bitcoin hit the top. He did that for about 3 months. And people conveniently forget that because he then keeps telling you about the tweet that he did hit the top. Insanity. Anyway, we're going to move on because we're going to run out of time. Let me get back to where we were. Right, we're not going to cover the last article, which is about crypto games. We'll do that tomorrow because it's not time sensitive. I am going to talk very quickly about Pump, and then I'm going to go back to Simon's question. And the reason I want to talk about Pump is you will have heard me berate this coin. Yeah, he probably did. That zombie is getting it right between the eyes. Again, I'm an old man, right? And I know all I have to do is walk faster than that zombie. So if I blow its kneecaps off and it's crawling on the floor, I don't have to walk very quickly. And I don't care if it's still alive. I'm getting away, right? You miss with your headshot and that thing's still running towards you. That's a simple fact. Either that or I shoot you in the knee and then I walk away. And then you're on the floor with your kneecaps gone, trying to kill a zombie that's running towards you. Kneecap a zombie. That's all you've got to do. That if you've got to take one thing away from this stream, you kneecap a zombie. And then what it will do, it will be like that turtle, the turtle that chases you around the world for the rest of your life, but it travels at 1 kilometre an hour. It's never going to catch you. The zombie, you blow its knees out, it's crawling on its hands and knees. It's going to wear itself away before it gets to you. No previous memes from last bull market will go to all-time high. Doge will, Shib will, Pepe probably, Bonk will, Flocky will. They all will. And that's the thing. Oh, no, they all will. All of the ones you've mentioned will, in my opinion. Because we're going to get to stupid season. And somebody asked about Metaverse coins the other day. Metaverse coins, they're garbage. What have they done? What has Decentraland done in 4 years? What have any of them done in 4 years? Where are they? They're nowhere. And that's the problem. They've not done anything. You are not going to get a housewife, pardon the misogyny for 1 minute, because I'm not going to go down theirs. You're going to get a housewife who wants to do house improvements. She's bought a house. It's her flat. She's got her own money. She wants to buy furniture for a house. Do you think she's going to put a headset on and walk around Legoland looking at IKEA furniture when it all looks like something out of Minecraft? Of course not. She's going to go on IKEA. She's going to go on H&M. She's going to go on designer outlets. Of course she is, because she's going to see real pictures. The metaverse is garbage. It's crap. It's always been crap. And they will have their time in the sun. Believe you me, that's the top. Another top signal is when you start to see metaverse coins pumping. You know what? It's like, anyway, pump all-time high as volume tops 1 billion. Now, I absolutely hammered this coin when it went live, and I told you this was a terrible idea. And had you taken my advice and not bought this coin, you'd have saved yourself a 75% drop. Okay? And that's what I said. Then it hit $1 billion, and I said, I hope it goes lower, and it didn't. And then something dramatic happened. About 2 weeks ago, about a week ago, we covered this on the stream. Pump's trading volume and revenue topped on Solana. And straight after that stream, I bought Pump. Didn't buy a lot. Bought it the same day I bought World Liberty Finance. And I think I mentioned it in one of the groups. I don't know if it was Crypto Warehouse or Crypto Warehouse OGs. I mentioned it somewhere. I bought a little bag of Pump and a little bag of World Liberty Finance. I think my Pump bag is now up about 40 or 50%. And the reason is, I don't like what they did. I don't like how they did it. But they have a common denominator with World Liberty Finance. And that is, they are both going to make bags full of cash, and they are using some of that cash to buy back their token. So that token's price will go up over time. And that is simply why I bought it. And I am going to move on because I want to basically go through this for a second with Simon. Do you know what? When I used to go out to Irish pubs, I'd always put on Zombie by Cranberries. Always. It was one of my songs. Minecraft should launch a coin. Absolutely. They should call it Mine. I totally agree. Silly season always happens. Silly season always happens. And that's when you know retailer here. Now, this sounds terrible. Okay? I admit what I'm going to say is going to sound terrible. You want retail to come back because you are not retail. And people keep telling you that you're retail. You're not retail. Retail are going to come back and they are going to want to buy crypto. And this is why I harp on all the time about Robinhood and Revolut and all of these different apps that you can buy crypto on. Because when Dave and Sharon are sitting there in their apartment in Scunthorpe and an advert comes on the telly and it's, I don't know, Peter Crouch comes on the telly and says, I've got a new coin out called Crouch. Go and buy it today, right? They're going to log into these apps, okay? And they're going to search through and they're going to say, oh, what we're going to buy? Well, we're going to get some of that Bitcoin because people own Bitcoin. And then Ethereum, have heard of that. We're going to go and buy that because that bloke dresses up as Pikachu. And we're going to buy Crouch coin. Let's have a look at what we've got. That's a pretty dog. What's that one called? Doggy. We'll get Doggy, okay? And what's that one called? Bonk. Hey, we like that, don't we? Because it's Bonk, isn't it? So we're going to go and buy Bonk. And then they're going to see Shib, which is another dog they like. So they're going to buy Shib. And then they think, well, maybe we want a cat. So they'll go and buy Mew. And then suddenly, Dave and Sharon from Scunthorpe hold Bitcoin and Ethereum, Crouchy, Bonk, Shib, Doge, and Mew. And that is all you need to know about retail, except that they are buying the top from you. You need to use them as exit liquidity. That is why we need them, because we want it to go as high as possible. And they're going to buy Bitcoin at 125,000. And the following day, it's at 150,000. And they're going to go, oi, Sharon, look at this. It's gone up 20%. We're going to be rich. We'll buy more. Get a loan. Get £100,000 and buy more Bitcoin. And then they buy £100,000 of Bitcoin at 150,000. Meanwhile, I am sitting here, as Tariq knows, and I've got, that's peanuts, by the way, but that says sell, right? That's my sell hat on, because I'm not allowed to give you financial advice. And Tariq is there, selling his Bonk and his Shib and his Doge and his Crouchy coin that he bought against my better judgment. And Tariq walks away with his 20x. And Tariq is happy. And Sharon and Dave are going to spend 4 years waiting for their Bonk coin to pick back up again and their Doge coin to pick back up again. And they are your exit liquidity. And much as you might not want to think that because you're a moral individual, for every seller there has to be a buyer. And you want that buyer to buy off you at the very top. And the good thing is about these bull runs is all the people that bought at 69,000 in the last bull run 4 years ago, they've either sold now or they've held, and they're even happier because we're now at nearly twice that amount. So we're not like we were where we're maybe at 55, 60,000, and I'm sitting here saying we're going to really struggle to break 70,000 because that's previous all-time high, and we're going to have to go up against all of the retail. What happens with retail is they'll go, right, we've bought it at 69,400 and they're going to wait 4 years and sell it at 69,401. That's what they will do. And we've already gone through that. So what we're going to do is go through price discovery, where it just keeps going up and up and up and up and up. And everyone thinks they're going to be loaded. Everyone thinks it's going to 500,000. Villain Bear will be in chat laughing at me because we're at 155,000 and everyone's telling him we're going to 255,000. And I'm sitting here going, peanuts, Tariq, peanuts. That's what happens. Happened last cycle, happened the cycle before. It's just what happens. Now, last and 12:03, perfect timing. Right. So my long plays. Right. Number one, I am not selling Bitcoin. That is the only asset I am not selling. I changed my opinion in January this year. I am not selling Bitcoin. It is too valuable to sell Bitcoin. Number two, Ethereum. If Ethereum goes anywhere near $7,000, $8,000, I am probably going to sell half my bag of Ethereum. Ethereum is rapidly approaching the never sell bag that's got Bitcoin in it. But for now, I bought Ethereum at $70. So if we go to $7,000, how can I not sell Ethereum? It's 100x'd. So I have to sell some. XRP, if XRP goes to $5, I am selling every dime. And I don't care where it goes to after that because I bought it at 30 cents. So I've made 15x, something like that, 16x. I don't care. Solana. I was buying Solana all the way down. You go back, you look. The Oracle was buying it at $12. The Oracle had orders at $6 that never filled because I think it only came down to 8 or 9. Solana, I'm going to sell north of maybe $400 or $500 if we get anywhere near that. So everything else, apart from those two, I am selling. Now, between now and then, what am I going to buy? If we get any kind of retracement to $44, I am going to buy some hype. I've already got Chainlink, so let's not include that one. If we go further down, where has it gone? I am going to be dollar cost averaging into WLF. I am also going to be dollar cost averaging into Pump. They are my two short-term plays. And outside of that, the only coins which I think have real longevity are coins that make a profit at this moment in time. So we talk a lot about Maple Finance and Syrup because they make a profit. But there are lots of other coins out there that make a profit as well. World Liberty Finance is going to be making a profit from its stablecoin. Pump makes money hand over fist from its token launch platform and its exchange, stuff like that. So there are other coins out there. But if we go further down, you're starting to get to really short-term plays, like plays that you're going to hold for the end of the bull run. Now, Ondo has always been on my cards. I bought Ondo at 90 cents. It really hasn't moved yet. It's just launched its tokenized stocks. I think there's 200 or 300 tokenized stocks on Ondo. That's going to fly. I'm going nowhere near WorldCoin. And if we go further down, Pump.Fun there, again, that's up 62% since I started buying it. I don't think that's a bad return at all. Pol, I still hold. This stablecoin is what you need to keep an eye on. So it's got 2.6 billion market cap. That means it's generating $130 million a year in income. They are spending that $130 million a year on buying back WLFI token. If you think that this token is only going to be a $5.5 billion market cap, and if you think that's all that Trump wants out of this, you are sadly mistaken. If this goes to 20 billion market cap, which is likely to do, it will be buying back $1 billion a year worth of this token here. This token here is not going to be worth $5.5 billion at that point. It's going to be worth north of 20, 30 billion. That's a 5 or 6 or a 7x from where we are now. So they're my plays. Now, other coins, if I scroll down, that I've heard of in terms of a positive future, I would be sticking to real-world asset projects. That's what I would stick to. And there's a lot down here you can look at. There's also a lot of junk down here. ASI should be way higher than it is now. That should be north of about 8 billion. It isn't. Jupiter should be 5 times higher than it is. That puts it at 7.5 billion. These two projects should be a lot higher. So for me, everything is a short-term play from now on. And if you had to buy 2 tokens from the top 10, which are likely to go a lot higher than where they are now, I would go for Solana and XRP because they're going to get their ETFs. And then maybe you buy before the ETF goes live and you sell when the ETF goes live. And you buy the rumor, sell the news. That's what I would do. But again, dollar cost averaging for the next 4 or 5 weeks to your favorite projects. That's all I would say. But anyway, I think that is about it for the show. It is 12:08. You shorted Pump? Yeah, it did come down. It didn't come down. Yeah, I've basically bought it and staked it. I've got it on an exchange where I can stake it. So I think I'm getting 4.5% on Pump and 4.5%, roughly 4.5% on each of World Liberty Finance, and that's what I'm getting. And it's just ticking over. I think every single coin will get to the point where it becomes overvalued. So, for example, the question asked is, should I hold hype past this alt season? If we know that Cardano is at 80 cents today, And we know the blow off top, for argument's sake, is $3. And it does this. You know it's going to get to an overbought, an overvalued price. So if you know it's going to an overvalued price, you should sell it at the overvalued price, and then you should buy it back again. Because what will happen is hype will go to let's say hype goes to $120. It's not worth $120. But it got there because those Sharon and Dave from Scunthorpe have bought it. So you sell it $120 or $110. And then what will happen in the bear market? It will come back down again. And then you love hype, so you buy it back again. Now maybe you've got it at $55 today. It goes to 110, and then it comes back down to 70. But you sold it at 110. That's the way you should play this. I mean, if you're young and you don't want to sell anything, you don't want to take any profits out, you hold all of your favorite tokens for the next 5 years. I'm only talking about if you want to take profit in this bull run. A bull run has an end. And at the end of a bull run, tokens go from being overvalued to the bottom of the bear market where they are undervalued. And you will have, if you listen back 2 years, I will say to you, Solana at $50 is grossly undervalued. I will say to you, Cardano at 22 cents is grossly undervalued. And you won't believe me at that point. But if I tell you that you should be selling Cardano at $3, you'll also not believe me. So which one is true? It's somewhere in the middle. And then you look for a fair value. What's the actual value of the likes of Jupiter? Look at how much profit it makes. Look at the growth in Jupiter. And then say, is that a $1.5 billion company? The answer is probably no, probably worth more. If you look at Hype, which is worth what now, 15 billion? Is Hype a $15 billion company? Well, go and find other $15 billion companies and see what their revenue and profits are, and then do your own assumption. Ask Grok. Ask Grok to compare Hyperliquid to other $15 billion companies and see what Grok says. And that'll look at revenue, it'll look at growth, it'll look at profit margin, it'll look at all those things for you. That's what I would do. Anyway, that is me done. I will see you all tomorrow at the same time. I am now going to go and do a stream on Binance Square to make sure that Binance Square is working. So if you're on Binance Square and this is working on Binance Square, I'll be back in a little bit. And if you're not on Binance Square, I will put the link up on X in a minute to it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at some charts. I'm going to go through Bitcoin. I'm going to go through the video that I'm going to make on Bitcoin. But I'm going to go through it on a live stream so you understand what I'm talking about. And then I might have a look at some coins over there just to give you some ideas of prices. So I will be back on Binance Square in about, I don't know, 20 minutes, half an hour. However long it takes me to drink my Binance mug of coffee. There you go. My Binance mug of coffee. Once I finish that, I'll go live again. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I will see you all in the morning. Take care.